So the other day, Andrew Scheer finally unveiled his long-awaited climate change plan. Now, I say long-awaited because Catherine McKenna and Justin Trudeau were saying, Andrew Scheer has no plan. What's his plan? When are we going to hear his plan? That was coming from them, from Liberal cabinet members, Liberal voters, Liberal social media bots, people who are not going to vote for Andrew Scheer anyway, who don't support him at all. Was it coming from Conservative voters, Conservative Party members? Was it coming from swing voters? I guess some of the information up at Conservative HQ led them to believe, yes, we do need a credible climate change plan, and so they announced one. But you can't help but feel that a large part of them announcing this plan was just to neutralize these attacks from Justin Trudeau and Catherine McKenna. And in the plan, they call for some very different things. They say we're going to axe the carbon tax, and they are defiant about it. Well, good for them. And the way they're going to get there is putting a cap on major emitters and also coming up with a plan to export various different endeavors such that they will work towards reducing global emissions in other countries that are bigger offenders, like China and India and so forth. Okay, fair enough. But should they be endorsing the Paris deal in the first place? That would be a great way for Andrew Scheer to clearly differentiate himself from Justin Trudeau on this issue. Now, we see a whole lot of polls out there show Canadians say, yes, they are concerned with the environment to some degree. They hear all of these headlines about how there's an oncoming catastrophe. 12 years from now, things will be immolated. They hear that we now have to use the phrase climate emergency when we talk about all of this. So no wonder that when regular folks who are mostly busy working their jobs and looking after their families are asked, do you care about the environment and climate issues? They're going to say, well, yeah, sure. But then when they're asked the details about it, they turn around and say, well, I don't really want to pay a carbon tax. I mean, yeah, sure, let's be good stewards to the environment, but I can't shell out a bunch of money every month on a yearly basis, an ever-escalating, increasing amount of money for this. I don't want to do that. And I really think that we can also evolve the conversation in other ways too, so that Canadian respondents who do care about the environment will also see that there are other concerns with going along with, say, a global deal like the Paris Agreement just for the sake of doing it. I mean, if we want to do things with the environment, shouldn't we do them because we want to do them, not because we signed on to some deal that other people in another bureaucracy are setting all of the different criteria and details for? Now, it's true that our actual Paris targets are ones that we came up with ourselves, but clearly there's a pressure on that, oh, we have to go along with this because we signed this Paris deal, because the UN is pressuring us to do it, and so forth. And there's a whole other element to this Paris deal that we don't talk about too much, which is the Green Fund. Canada has to put hundreds of millions of dollars into this thing, into a giant pot of money that's going to be used for various green initiatives that happen in other countries. And we're not going to have much of a say in how that money is spent and also how it is monitored. There are a lot of concerns with all of this. Quite frankly, I don't think leadership is saying, what are we going to do to fulfill our Paris obligations? I think real leadership is stepping out of the pack and challenging this deal. Do we actually want ourselves to be beholden to this UN deal and that so many of these different policy measures we're doing? Because, of course, dealing with climate issues is not just the carbon tax. So many of the things that Justin Trudeau and Catherine McKenna announce are all about that. They are very focused on that. Maybe we should look at it in a different way. Quite frankly, I think Donald Trump stepping out of the Paris deal was one of the best things he's done in his presidency. I mean, everybody was following the same pack, and Trump said, we're not going to do it. Now, I listened very closely when he gave that speech the other year saying they were withdrawing from the Paris climate deal. And he said in that speech, we want to make sure the U.S. is the greenest, cleanest country in the world, and we will continue to pursue all of that. They just didn't want to be bound by an international agreement that they weren't in full control of and didn't want to put money into the Green Climate Fund pot anymore. Fair enough. And you know what? The numbers show that the US has gone and done that. They are the global leader in reducing emissions. So if a community out there, if a city, a province, what have you, wants to go and do various different green initiatives, well, they can do it. If an individual, if a civic association wants to do things to better their environment, they can do it. There's no stopping you. It would be nice to see Conservatives have the conversation a bit more about whether or not we need to withdraw from the Paris deal.